Welcome to another edition of 60 Minute Sports. My name is Christopher Zidane Matthews.
And I'm VENGA, the rational one.
Whatever. All right, so lots to discuss today. Chelsea, that big Premier League encounter, Chelsea was not able, they're at the top of the table, they're still leading, was not able to defeat United. It ended 1-1 at Stamford Bridge. Arsenal, in this set of fixtures, are back to winning ways. They beat Newcastle by 2-0. Southampton, they weren't any match for Liverpool. Liverpool was dominant in terms of field goal scoring prowess. They got a 4-0 victory in that encounter. And West Ham losing. I mentioned West Ham because people tell me that Mikel Antonio is this great player. So West Ham was not able to beat Man City with the great Mikel Antonio. They lost that game 2-1. Saint Etienne lost 3-1 to Paris Saint-Germain. But the big news, Neymar got a horrific injury in that encounter. Disappointing. So all of that to discuss. Plus we start in the massive clash, Chelsea versus United. Chelsea did not get the victory. Your thoughts?
Well, looking at the game overall, you could clearly see that Man U had no plan, and I repeat, no plan. They were just on the field, bunch of talented players on the field, didn't know what to do, and I was just all over the place like headless chicken. Chelsea, on the other hand, superior, tactical, well-trained, well-coached, and they were all over Man U. It looked as if it was box against forward in that game. Absolutely no plan from Man U.
Well, I disagree with him, viewers. I thought United had a plan. The plan was to stay very compact and hit Chelsea on the counter with the pace of Sancho and Rashford. The plan didn't work very well because they did not get the win, but they did enough to get a point. And looking at their results against the other top teams in England, the Liverpool and the Man Cities, and how they were dominated, I'm sure they will be happy with a point in that game.
Definitely they would have been happy with a point. And I'm saying why there was no plan is because when you set up a team to play on the counter, you have two lines of four playing on top of the D. That was not the case from Man U. They were pinned back. They didn't know what to do. There was no plan for an outlet. They were just pinned down. And as a result of being pinned down, you might assume that there was a plan. There was no plan in place for them. They were just lobbing over the balls and hoping that Rashford could create a let out. As you see with the first goal that they got, it was a ball just kicked out, and luckily, error by the defender in trying to control a ball falling out of the sky allowed them to get a goal. That was not a systematic, coordinated counter-attacking approach. No plan whatsoever.
Yeah, but the fact that they had and they realized both players ended up being the ones in the position, either could have scored, they could have passed, Sancho scored. Two players with pace. That was indeed the plan, that we are going to allow Chelsea to come onto us and hit them with Sancho and the other gentleman on the counter-attack with pace, who are both at pace. It didn't work well, but I thought that was a plan. But give them some credit, because at the end of the day, how many clear-cut chances did Chelsea create? They were at home. They did not create a lot of clear-cut chances. So even though Man United had a plan, it must be embarrassing for a team, according to him, to not have a plan. Yet their opponents, who are leading the league, wasn't able to create numerous great chances against them.
Totally disagree. There was a plan. It's just that team
Plan
of Werner.
from Chelsea?
Yes, man. Planned by Chelsea. It's just that team. Man, you had no plan.
No, I'm not saying Chelsea didn't have a plan.
But it's just that team of Werner. He was misfiring, and you see a couple of chances where he muffed and was just not getting into the right position at one point. Inverted fullback Reece James slipping the ball right in front of goal there for him to go onto the ball, and he stopped looking around, and as a result of that he had to be substituted. He was out of his depth. And I'll say this, that anytime a player does well in mainland Europe, they bring him across and think that he can adjust to the league. It's not necessarily so, right? He's not there yet. And you see Lukaku coming back, and as soon as Lukaku is up to speed, Chelsea will get more dangerous.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is that Chelsea has been marauding over the last couple of weeks. That wasn't the case against Manchester United. And again, despite not having a plan, they were difficult to break down in terms of, look at it. While he's criticizing Werner, they did not get a lot of clear-cut chances. Defenders got a foot in, numbers were there. They made it tough for Chelsea to look fluent. I think more criticism should be meted out at Chelsea as opposed to United, because again, you're confident, you're at home, you're leading the league, a United team that has lacked quality against the big teams in England thus far. I think Chelsea should have done much better against them. Chelsea moved the ball. The difference between Chelsea and Liverpool, Liverpool and Man City, is that Man City moved the ball quickly. getting behind quickly. United struggle against pace inside of those areas between the midfield and the defense. Liverpool, similar. Chelsea were too slow in that regard, and that is exactly why United were able to hang on for a point.
Totally disagree, and we could argue this point for the entire day, right? If you assemble talented players, put them on the field, there are some basics that they will cover, or they would have covered. And why I'm saying it's no plan, you are accustomed to seeing Man United. This is how you expect a Man United to play for the season. They can't play like this for the season. Not even against Watford, they could have approached them that way. They were just very fortunate because of defensive error. They were able to get something on the board.
I disagree that it was. Well, the goal was because of a defensive error, major error. There from, what's his name, Jorginho. Don't know what he was doing. He should just play the ball back inside.
One top back.
But the fact of the matter is, they were slaughtered against Man City. Man City took their foot off the gas in the second half. Liverpool, similar. Watford got chance after chance against them in the previous game. But this time around, they were far more difficult to break down. So I'm giving them some credit in that regard. Yes, offensively they weren't great, but they had to suffer because they had to do what they needed to do defensively to prevent the onslaught from Chelsea. So I'm giving them some credit for tactically being reasonably decent. Not great, I agree, but they did enough to get away from Stamford Bridge with a point.
Well, we're going to go on at this, but at this level, a squad being assembled with so many expensive players, that's not good enough, and that's not going to cut it if you even intend to reach the top four, right? But we're going to leave that.
Yes,
we want to look at our beloved Arsenal. That's the only thing we have in common. Philosophy with my co-host is totally different.
Yes.
Right? Arsenal is the only thing we have in common.
So
what are your thoughts?
Well, decent performance, and we have to be happy that, because remember at the start of the season we were struggling badly. We were struggling against everybody. So we lost badly in our previous game. We played a top team in Liverpool at home, at their home ground. So it was tough. But what we are showing is that against the lesser teams, we are gonna get the job done, and usually get the most, because you have far more small teams in England. Relative, when I say small team, I mean relative to the elites. So if you pick up these points, you're in the mix. You can get into the top four. And right now we are competing with West Ham United. I think we have a just as good a squad as West Ham, or even better. So it is great that we are showing the quality against these smaller teams.
Tactically, we are able to compete with the lesser teams, but if you put this tactic against some of the big six or the top four.
Is there a big six?
Well, let's say the top four.
There's a big three, viewers.
I disagree, right? The top four, because a big club is a big club, and if you remember when the elite league was being formed, only certain teams were invited to this elite league. It's not because presently your present position in the league, you may be in the top four or the top six. It doesn't mean that you're part of the big six or the top four as a team. But your current position now may say otherwise. But back to the game though.
Yes.
You don't need Smith Rowe and Martin Odegaard on the field. They're one of the same, and I think Mikel Arteta is playing Smith Rowe out of position. He wants Smith Rowe to run a channel, and he's not athletic enough. Martin Odegaard in the number 10 role is not creative enough, and he's only creating for one player, Aubameyang. If you decide to use Martin Odegaard as a creator on the pitch, at least get two centre forward playing side and side, Lacazette and Aubameyang. He may look a little better, but it's a waste of money to go and get Odegaard though, because Smith Rowe could have fulfilled that role, and it would have been much better, a much better Arsenal with Smith Rowe playing there and scoring.
I think the fact of the matter is that he spoke with Odegaard and he convinced him that he can be a major part of Arsenal, and he brought him in, agreed to sign. So I'm thinking that in his head he wants to give him some games, give him some minutes, because I agree, he's not, he's struggling, viewers, he's struggling to get the job done. He was said to be one of the next greatest thing, and he has nothing, he's showing nothing to suggest that he would, and that is exactly why Real Madrid allowed him to leave. So he's struggling in that regard. That is one of the adjustments that Arteta should make. You have to be ruthless. Yes, you brought him in, but if he's struggling, he's struggling. So you have to be ruthless as a manager and just move on until he finds form, if he does find some form.
We are pretty much this. We have to fix,
yes.
Right? We have to fix if we intend to win the league and compete against the bigger teams. Right. 2 defensive midfielder, that's a no-no for me. And I could go on and on. A lot of errors tactically by Mikel Arteta. I'm not in agreement with the setup, but it works against the lesser teams.
Well, we're at the lesser teams level right now. Beat them and we're in the mix of the top 4, and then let's see what we do going forward. All right.
Most definitely.
Liverpool in front of goal, they look awesome. Every time Liverpool attacks, if you give them space, they look like they will kill you.
Yeah.
You give them credit for that. They look awesome once they're in your defensive area. They have so many different players who can hurt you. Are they the team to beat? I know it's 30, 29, 28. So it's very, very close at the top after 13 games. So you can't really say this team is way ahead of the other team based on performance thus far. So it's close. Are you thinking Liverpool is the team to beat?
After the African Cup of Nations, we will see what, because I'm looking at January, that month, January, after the tournament, in the big tournament in Africa. I want to see how Liverpool pans out there. But at this moment, it is very close, but Liverpool stands to suffer the most. So I am not ready to commit at this point as it is what is going to happen. But in January, or the latter part of January, we shall see what we shall see.
All right, he's sitting on the fence. I don't think they are the team to beat. I think they will compete for sure. That's obvious for the title. I definitely think, based on what I saw today from Chelsea, they're going to be the toughest team to break down of the top 3. You have Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool. Here, those are the ones that will compete for the title. I think they are the most difficult one to break down. However, I think of those 3, against top opponents, they're going to find it less. They're going to find it less easy, if I'm saying it the right way, to break down the opponents. Tough enough opponents. I think Man City will find it easy, and Liverpool. So it may come down to Man City and Liverpool finding a way to get the job done in some particular games defensively. So Chelsea overall, I think, is more organized defensively, but I think others are greater offensively.
Well, that is true. I will agree with that. But Chelsea is very organized. I see where if you can put those banks of 4 against Liverpool in place, well drilled, well disciplined, Liverpool will have a problem. And I think Liverpool, of the 3, will struggle to break down. And so they will find themselves in a worse predicament in January.
All right, let's see that is to come. But I'm telling you, I'm going with City. I picked City at the start of the season. I said Chelsea would have been very strong. They are the European champions, so again, no surprise there. And they brought in Lukaku, who has improved them somewhat. So yes, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a hot race. I think it's going to go right down to the wire. Maybe the games, sometimes the games between your direct competitor is not significant, because sometimes they drop so many points against others. But I think this season it will be, because they all look so good and they all find ways to win all the time, or most of the time, against the other teams. So I think it might very well come down to what they do against each other. So those games, Liverpool, City again, because the first one was exciting, it ended in a draw. City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Chelsea, all those games I think will be significant in the title race come at the back end. It's early days still, 13 games, but I think Man City have enough to be the team to beat, with Chelsea right on their heels.
Well, January, I'll make my pronouncement. Not no. Aside of me saying Arsenal may come good in the latter stage, but I think that's more sentiments than reality.
Well, if we remove Man City, Chelsea and Liverpool out of the league, then Arsenal will be the big favourites, clearly. All right, viewers, remember, very important, like, subscribe, share this video.
Stay tuned.
Okay, I was waiting on it. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.